Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vaishali Kikan and we are discussing the optical communication. Today in this video, we are going to talk about the multi-mode step index fiber. In that, we are going to talk about the dispersion losses. So first of all, we are going to see what is the pulse broadening, how the pulse broadening is introduced into the multi-mode step index fiber. I told you the multi-mode step index fiber will be showing me the most significant losses of the dispersion. So why I was saying so, we are going to justify all of these things mathematically. So how we can justify it? With the help of the delay difference. We are going to find out what is the delay difference between the maximum time duration and the minimum time duration. The maximum time duration can be calculated for the slowest mode or the slowest velocity for the given pulse. Okay, so now the minimum time duration can be calculated for the fastest velocity. Right, so if I subtract both of them, I will be getting the delay difference, and which is a very important parameter to calculate the broadening. Right, how we are going to find out the RMS pulse broadening with the help of the delay difference. And this is how mathematically we are going to find out on which parameters the pulse broadening or the dispersion in the multi-mode step index fiber is dependent. So this video is going to be really interesting one, and I hope all of you have gone through the previous video where I had discussed about the dispersion. If not, it is highly recommended that you go back, watch it first and then come to this video. So let's start our discussion. So first of all, we should know what is the slowest pulse and which one is the fastest pulse. So now the slowest pulse would be giving me the slowest mode, right? So the slowest mode is given by the axial ray, right? So we all know what is axial ray, we all know what is meridional ray. So now coming to the fastest mode. Fastest mode is the meridional ray. Why it is the fastest mode? It has to travel the longest distance. Because it has to travel the longest distance in the same time interval, so it will be having the fastest velocity, right? So it will be giving me the fastest mode as well. So the fastest mode is for the meridional ray, right? So I hope you understood why I am calling the axial ray as the slowest mode and the meridional ray as the fastest mode, right? So now we can find out the delay difference between the slowest mode and the fastest mode with the help of the time in between the slowest and the fastest mode. And why we are finding out the delay difference? To calculate the pulse broadening, because the pulse broadening is dependent upon the delay difference. If my delay difference would be higher, the pulse broadening would be higher, right? So we have to calculate the delay difference to calculate the pulse broadening. Why we are calculating the pulse broadening? From the previous video we know the pulse broadening is the parameter of the dispersion. So we are calculating the pulse broadening to calculate the dispersion. Right. So both of the rays are having same velocity, because now in the practical conditions they have the same velocity because the refractive index is same. Okay, so when I was talking about the graded index fiber, there I told you that the meridional ray and the axial ray are having the different velocity, so that both of them are reaching the same time. But here, because the refractive index is same, so both of them will be having the same velocity. Now when both of them is having the same velocity, I know meridional ray is traveling like this, it has to travel the longer path, and the axial ray is traveling the lesser path. So now axial ray will be traveling my lesser path and the meridional ray will be traveling a larger path because of the constant refractive index in the step index fiber inside the core. We all know inside the core we have a constant refractive index for step index fiber, that is N1. So I hope you understood till now. So this was a very important thing to make your base to understand this derivation. right? So now the delay difference is directly proportional to the length of the fiber, right? So if I have the higher path length, I will be having the more delay difference. If I have the lesser path length, I will be having the lesser delay difference. In the previous video, I told you that the pulse broadening also depend upon the length of the fiber. So we are going to justify these things mathematically. So now axial ray is going to reach at the same point in the minimum time because both of them are having the same velocity. It is having the lesser distance, so it is going to travel faster. It is having to travel a larger distance. This is the meridional ray, this is the axial ray. So meridional ray, when it has to travel a larger distance with the same velocity, it is taking more time. So axial ray is faster, it is taking t minimum, right? It is distance upon velocity. So distance is L, we all know the length, it is L, and the velocity can be represented as c upon n1, where n1 is the refractive index of the core and c is the velocity of light. So it can be represented as L n1 upon c. Now for the meridional ray, we have the T max, right? The distance it is traveling is L upon cos theta, right? We all know the distance traveled by the meridional ray, it is L upon cos theta, and the velocity would be c upon n1. Velocity is constant, so it would be L n1 upon c cos theta, right? So here we have to calculate this cos theta to see the difference between these two. Now when I see this optical fiber, this is cladding and this is core, and now this is my theta A, right? Acceptance angle. Now here this would be my theta, this is my phi c, right? So now I know sine phi c is n2 upon n1 because sine of 90 is equal to 1, right? So now I know sine of theta 1 upon sine of theta 2 would be n1 upon n2. Similarly here sine of phi c upon sine of 90, which is 1. So it is represented as sine of phi c only. So sine of phi c is n2 upon n1 because it is the critical angle, the ray is passing like this, right? So now here we will be having n2 upon n1, which is equal to cos of theta. Why? So because here phi c, you can see this triangle, this triangle would be AOB. In the triangle AOB, let's see, in this triangle theta plus phi c plus 90 would be equal to 180 degree, right? We all know this thing. So theta plus phi c would be equal to 90, and I can write phi c as 90 minus theta. So I can represent this sine phi c as sine 90 minus theta, which is equal to cos of theta. So cos of theta would be n2 upon n1, or 1 upon cos theta would be n1 upon n2. So let's put this equation over here. So now here when I put this 1 upon cos theta to be n1 upon n2, so here in the numerator I am multiplying it with n1, in the denominator I am multiplying with n2. So here T max would be L n1 square upon C n2, right? So this is how I can modify this T max. So now the delay difference would be maximum time minus minimum time. So L n1 square upon C n2 minus L n1 upon C. So simple equations. So now L n1 square upon C n2 I have taken the common, and I would be left out with n1 minus n2 upon n1. So now here if I am considering the relative refractive index to be very much less than 1, so I can consider it to be nearly equal to n1 minus n2 upon n1, and this is how I can represent the delay difference, that is delta Ts, to be equal to, it is nearly equal to L n1 square delta upon C n2, right? So this is the relation that I have found out for the delay difference, right? So now here let's see this equation, and now here if delta is very much less than 1, I can represent the delta as n1 minus n2 upon n2 also. This is the first equation for delta, and in the second manner I can represent the delta as n1 minus n2 upon n2. This is also the condition when del is very much less than 1, right? So now when del is very much less than 1, delta Ts would be nearly equal to L n1 upon C, because now here I have taken ln1 upon c common. So in this equation, when you take ln1 upon c common, you would be left out with n1 minus n2 upon n2, which is again delta. So I can easily represent it as ln1 delta upon c, right? So this is a very simpler equation rather than this. So here you can see this equation is more complex than this equation, so I can represent the delay difference as simply ln1 delta upon c, and I know the relationship between the relative refractive index and the numerical aperture, and I can represent it as lna square upon 2n1c. Right? So now if I want to find out the RMS pulse broadening from this equation, from the delay difference, I am moving towards the RMS pulse broadening. So for that I am considering a unit area pulse. So this is my input pulse, which is having the unit area which is spreaded from minus delta ts upon 2 to delta ts upon 2 and having the amplitude 1 upon delta ts. Right? So it would be having the unit area, because here the height is 1 upon delta ts, the width is delta ts upon 2 plus delta ts upon 2 would be delta ts. So it would be having the unit area. It is making a rectangular type of structure. The rectangle is having the area, length into breadth. Both are considered here, and it will be giving me the unit area. So now I hope you understood. It is having the time distribution from minus delta ts to delta ts upon 2. So here minus delta ts upon 2 is less than equal to pt, the pulse, input pulse, and which is less than equal to delta ts upon 2. So the area is unit area, so I can integrate it from minus infinity to infinity pit dt, and I can get 1. This is how I integrate it and find out the area. So now what is variance? Variance is mean square value of the pulse minus mean value of the pulse square. Right, so m2 minus m1 square, which I can call as the first moment and the second moment. So this is my variance, and this is my RMS pulse broadening factor. Sigma s is my RMS pulse broadening factor, which I can calculate from the variance. Sigma s square would be m2 minus m1 square. So m1 is mean value of the pulse, or m2 is the mean square value of the pulse, or I can call them as first and the second order moment. I can write m1 as minus infinity to infinity integration t pit dt, and m2 as minus infinity to infinity integration t square pit dt. So now here when I consider this to be my pulse, you can see it is centered around 0. It is having the same area in the right hand side and the same area in the left hand side. So its mean value would be at the center, which is 0. So mean value is 0. I can say m1 is 0. Or you can put the value of pit and the integration in this formula, and you can find out the m1t also. You will find out it to be 0, and this is how you can find out m1 to be 0. Now coming to the sigma s square, it is just dependent upon now m2. So when I put m1 here to be 0, sigma s square would be directly equal to m2. Now I have just find out m2. So when I find out m2, I will be getting variance, and from variance I can find out the RMS value of the pulse broadening. So sigma s square would be m2, which would be equal to minus infinity to infinity t square pit dt. So let's put the limits. So limits of this function is minus delta ts upon 2 to delta ts upon 2. So from minus infinity to infinity, I have reduced the limits from minus delta ts upon 2 to delta ts upon 2. Now what is this? Amplitude is 1 upon delta ts, and so here I have represent 1 upon delta ts into here what was this t square into dt. So this is how I can represent my PIT, and now here this is 1 upon delta ts is a constant. I can take it outside, so t square dt would be having integration t cube upon 3, and the limits are minus delta ts upon 2 to delta ts upon 2, and this is how when I solve this I will be getting 1 upon 3 delta ts upon 2 square. So I know the value of delta ts. Here you can see the delta ts is L, annual data upon k, and when I put it, so sigma s square would be 1 upon 3. So put the value of delta ts, L and 1 delta upon c. You can see here L and 1 delta upon c I have put. So here I was having 2 factor also, so here I would be having sigma s square. So I want to find out sigma s, that is the RMS pulse broadening factor. So sigma s would be under root of this, so here I would be having L N1 delta upon 2 under root C. And in the terms of numerical aperture also I can find out sigma S. Sigma S would be L NA square upon 4 under root 3 N1C. This is how I can say the pulse broadening is directly proportional to the relative refractive index. You can see it is directly proportional to the delta. So I can reduce the relative refractive index to reduce the pulse broadening. But when I reduce the relative refractive index, the theta A acceptance angle will be reduced, right? We all know the relationship between theta and delta. You have to watch the previous video where I talked about the acceptance angle to see the relationship between theta A and delta. So when I reduce theta A, when I reduce delta, I will have to reduce the theta A. So when I reduce the theta A, the numerical aperture will also get reduced. So now when the numerical aperture is reduced, there would be some problems in launching the light inside the optical fiber. This is the worst condition to launch the light inside the optical fiber, right? So now when the pulse broadening is directly proportional to the length of the fiber, you can see it from here. So it is directly proportional to the length of the fiber also. So now if I have the higher length of the fiber, the pulse broadening would be higher. So from here I will be getting the bandwidth length trade-off. If I increase the length of the fiber, I will be reducing the bandwidth. And this is how I will be having some problems in the long distance communication through the optical fiber. So if I increase the order mode, so I will be having increased field penetration in the cladding. We all know on the higher order modes, in the cladding I will be having more field, right? So in the lower order modes, I would be having lesser field in the cladding, which means more power is concentrated in the lower order modes, right? So more power is concentrated in the lower order modes because I have higher losses at the core cladding irregularities if I have higher order modes. So in the higher order modes, if I have higher losses, which means the significant power would be less in them, so I would be having more power in the lower order modes, and I will be having the differential attenuation, right? So differential attenuation would be there, which means I would be having lesser power in the higher order modes. So here this difference is the T max minus T min, right? So it was considering that I have the same power inside the higher order mode as well as the lower order mode. But here when I have the differential attenuation, that if one of them is getting attenuated, so I would be having lesser dispersion. So I can say differential attenuation is giving me lesser dispersion. So this is the first factor to reduce the dispersion inside the multi-mode step index fiber. And the second factor would be coupling. So there would be coupling in between the higher order modes and the lower order modes. So both of them will be having different velocities, right? But due to the coupling or the power transfer between the higher order and the lower order modes, I would be having some average speed which is going to reduce the dispersion, and now the dispersion can be calculated as delta TSC. So now here, this was the delay difference over here. You can see the delay difference was Ln1 delta upon C. Here we will be having under root LLC, where LC is the characteristic length. Right, so the characteristic length, and it is multiplied with the length of the fiber, and we have taken the under root, and other factors are same, N1 delta upon C. Here also I have N1 delta upon C, but here you can see it depends upon the length, it depends upon the under root of the length. So now here, because it is depending upon the under root of the length in the coupling mode, so when I will be having the coupling inside the multi-mode step index fiber, it is going to reduce the effect of the dispersion. Further, I can reduce the effect of the dispersion, as I told you in the initial time of this video also, that I can reduce the effect of the dispersion when I have the higher order modes which are traveling at a faster speed, and the lower order modes or the meridional and the axial ray are traveling at the different speeds. When the axial ray is traveling at a slower speed and the meridional ray is traveling at a faster speed, which is happening in the gradient index fiber, that I am going to discuss in the next video. So we are going to discuss about the reduction in the dispersion in the gradient index fiber or the multi-mode gradient index fiber in the upcoming video. I hope you will be joining me soon in the next video to see how we are going to reduce the effect of the dispersion, the multi-mode gradient index fiber. So I hope you like this video. If you like it, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and give me your feedback. Thank you so much.